that. All right. Okay, any other questions before we start?
Yeah, if there's some people that just cannot be hypnotized or cannot do this, there are some people that just...
The majority of the population can be. The people who cannot be are those, for example, who are mentally challenged, like 80 IQ seems to be like a cutoff from the research. People who have, some kinds of genetic defects that affect their ability to process information, things like that. So there are some people like that who cannot be hypnotized, just because the avatar itself has been modified so that it can't. However, the majority of the population can be. Now, statistically speaking, 1 out of 20 will be capable of a very, very deep somnambulistic trance and would be a good experimental subject. Okay? Because for the experimental kinds of things, you need somebody who's really good at it and who really follows instructions and can manifest all of the various phenomena very easily. Okay? For therapeutic work, you don't need that level of trance. You can work with almost no trance. Okay? In fact, there's a whole controversy that has been out there from the beginning, but really started to get heated in the experimental literature right around the late 1950s, early 1960s. There's a group of researchers out there saying the whole concept of hypnosis is wrong. There is no such thing as hypnosis. There's no special trance state. There's no special language. There's no special neurological modifications. None of that is necessary. We can get exactly the same result just by simply giving the people instructions. And so side-by-side comparisons in the experimental laboratory, you take your somnambulistic subjects, the really good experimental subjects, and you take just normal people, and you can get the same result with these people in a deep trance and these people just following instructions. And that will work for 95% of the things you want to do. It will not work, however, for pain management, especially serious pain management, and it will not work for things like the blistering effect. Okay? Yeah, in other words, you can provide instructions to people under hypnosis and tell them that you are going to place a hot iron on the back of their hand, and then you just touch them with something, a coin or a pen or something like that. And what will happen is they will actually have a blistering effect. So there's a physiological response to the suggested blistering, well, to the suggested hot touch of a hot metal thing, and so the body responds to that as if it were real. So again, you can't simulate that. One of the other things that they've done is they've taken simulators, their experimental subjects, and they say, I just want you to pretend like you're hypnotized, and we'll try to see if the experimenter can tell the difference between the person who's really in a trance and use simulators. And the experimenter doesn't know. So he's got these kids out there, most of them are young kids, 18, 19, 20-year-old psychology students. The favorite lab rats of the psych department. And so they'll have the experimental subjects who are actually going to go into a trance, and then they'll have, in the middle of all of those, they'll have the simulators. And the objective is for the experimenter to try to determine which ones are the simulators. Well, they have a really hard time, except when you do the blistering or the pain management. Because with the pain management, typically they do two things. They do either tourniquets, okay, and then have the person sort of pump it up and try to move it, and that will cause ischemic pain really pretty quickly. It doesn't do any damage, but it really hurts. Okay, and then the other one is cold pressor pain. They put it in like 30-degree water. And again, after about 30 seconds, it's painful. So you have your simulators do one of those two things, and after about 30 seconds, they quit. They stop simulating because it just hurts too bad. Whereas the people who are actually in trance are able to maintain the level of pain at a manageable level for much longer. And the same thing with the blistering. The simulators will not blister, the actual hypnotic subjects will. So again, the experimental debate is a very useful one, especially in those areas that are, you know, sort of generic, where anybody can respond to, you know, suggestions and instructions. But there is something real going on with hypnosis itself, because the blistering and the pain management demonstrate that beyond doubt. There is no way anyone could simulate pain management at the level that they would need in order to undergo a surgery without, like, for example, a hysterectomy or, I've seen two, hysterectomy and a hernia repair. So one female and one male, with nothing but hypnosis. No medication of any kind, no anesthesia, no anesthetic. Okay, can't simulate that. So there is something real going on here, something absolutely real happening here to modify, you know, physiological responses in the body at the molecular level, it appears. All right, any other questions? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn off the screens so we're not distracted by anything.
You did it before, this is post-hypnotic suggestion.
Right. Right. Okay.
You will shut off.
We'll shut them off. And we'll shut the door. And create more of the maze effect. All right, now just this is an Ericksonian, a neo-Ericksonian approach to hypnosis in general and pain management in particular. And so you'll be able to listen to this and you'll be able to see how it works because you'll feel how it works. You'll actually experience how it works. And at the end of the script, we'll come back to normal wakeful awareness and then we'll discuss what your experiences were. All right? So just go ahead and get comfortable. With your eyes closed, as you begin to relax, you probably notice that the first thing you notice is how difficult it is to not become aware of pain and discomfort. And that's fine. You don't need to fight your mind, which is always aware of those sensations there for you. Because as you relax, you can begin to discover that each time you relax, a muscle in an arm or a leg or a face or even a foot or a finger, that you can drift down more and more deeply than before into that sensation there, in a more relaxed and comfortable way. Because there really is no need effort it takes to try to stay away from that feeling. Or to try to fight that feeling, which almost seems to guide and direct awareness down to the voice, more and more into it. And as you drift toward it, toward that center feeling, everything else can be allowed to relax more and more. As you begin to discover that it really is okay to let go in that way, to allow yourself to relax every other part of your body, and to drift down toward the very tiniest center of that feeling, the very small middle, the source of it. And then to drift down through that center into a place beneath quietness, calm awareness, down through that feeling, and out the other side, into a space of relaxed letting go, of comfortable relaxation, of the mind can drift away, drift from one place to another. As the body relaxes and the mind becomes smooth, able to absorb events, even those events, easy, comfortable. To become absorbed in thoughts and images as the mind reflects clear wonder of a child, a young child, watching a flock of geese as they soar across the sky. And fly into the mists, the rhythm of their sound becoming softer, as soft as the down in a pillow you place where you rest. The most comfortable place for a child to relax. You drift and dream to the mind, protected and safe. The letting go allows the flow, and the soft floating upward, where the mind drifts free of things far below, and seems to soar in a sky as clear as glass, so smooth, clear, that it disappears when you look at it. And what appears instead is the deep blue shine of the warm, soft sun. The star far beyond. It reaches out and
provides that warm, soft light. As you drift down, you experience the comfort. You learn to feel the sound sleep that your avatar can provide you. Whenever you relax and allow yourself to drift into a trance. Because your avatar can take you down through that feeling into a space, a comfortable place, a relaxed state. And you relax and allow it to do so, just for you. That relief and relaxation and drifting down through, which comes to you whenever you allow it to. Just as that drifting upwards occurs as well. Drifting back toward the surface, wakeful awareness. As your avatar reminds you to drift up in a relaxed, comfortable way. Back toward the surface now, bringing with you that comfortable relaxation, an automatic change in sensation. Even as the mind drifts upward, the relaxation continues. As the mind awakens and the eyes open, but the body remains behind. Relax. That's right. Eyes open now. Take your time. All right, how was that? Did you feel it?
My body just went completely relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
My head kept,
Yeah, the chairs are not the best, like I said, for hypnosis and meditation, we need to have big, comfortable, fluffy chairs. But it will work, this, as you can see, it will work here. So, Tessa, yeah? Question? No? Oh, yeah,
I couldn't understand a word you said.
that's okay.
Control also, that's mine.
Is it important to
No.
hear what you say?
Absolutely not. What effect did it have?
I was very relaxed.
Mhm. See, so your avatar, remember the avatar processes this kind of information at a subliminal level. It knows what I'm saying. Okay? But it doesn't rise to the level, it doesn't get into the system where you can pick it up, so it becomes muffled. And that is sometimes one of the effects. But clearly, it was paying attention and following the instructions in its own way, and allowing you to experience the relaxation, the drifting down, the imagery. Did you see the imagery? What imagery do you remember?
But your voice is, I'm glad that you were talking about that, because I didn't quite understand the thing that you were saying.
Yep.
And I thought, well, it's probably because I don't speak English.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But your voice was, you have a way to say those things
Yes,
that puts you at ease, I
yes,
think.
yes, and that's exactly. So we'll learn that pattern, we'll learn that vocal intonation. Okay? Yeah.
I have restless legs.
Okay?
And as I was listening to you, my legs were twitching.
Mm-hmm.
And I think keeping me from going down as far as I could have gone down.
Oh, okay,
They were distracting.
okay.
So what does the person do about something like that?
Well, we'll just build that into the next time.
Okay,
We'll specifically address that
okay,
next time. This is a rather generic kind of script.
okay.
So now that we know that there's a specific issue, we will actually build something into it that will address it.
And so, I'll be able to make that not be there when I'm trying to go to sleep at night.
Yes, yeah,
Wonderful.
you'll be able to, yeah, so it will not distract you when you're going to sleep at night. Yeah, and in fact, perhaps we'll build something in a suggestion that you can understand a little bit more about what's going on and maybe find a solution if one is available. The avatar can communicate to you in your dreams, or, when you're, we're walking around, engaged in our normal activities, and all of a sudden we have that aha moment. Yeah, that's another activity of the avatar, the unconscious mind. Oh, all of a sudden, it solves a problem that we've been working on. That's, maybe has been percolating for 3 or 4 days. So perhaps we'll build something like that in too. We'll work on that. So when we come back next week, what we'll do is you guys think about specific things you would like to include, and then we'll put them in the script, and then we'll run the script. Okay?
How about getting into that state in which, because sometimes I felt, I wasn't quite sure if I was asleep
Mm-hmm.
or I was actually having an experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes there's no difference. Sometimes it feels as if you're still perfectly awake. Yeah, it depends on how tired you are. Okay, if you're really tired, you'll drift off and it will feel like sleep.
Fall asleep.
Yeah, but you'll notice one of the things that you'll notice as you practice this is that when it appears that the person is asleep, they may in fact be asleep, but they're still listening. And they will respond to whatever instructions that you provide.
They, you say?
Whoever, if someone is like were to fall asleep, they're still listening. Yeah, they're still listening. They'll respond.
Yeah.
So you just relax and let them do their thing. Give them a simple instruction like, remain relaxed and return to normal wakeful awareness when you're ready. That's a simple process instruction, and when they're ready, they'll just rejoin everybody else. Yeah.
I felt relaxed, but I also felt a heightened state of like awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Is that?
Sure, that's normal too, yeah.
normal?
Yep. Yeah, I'm more aware of things going on.
But it didn't bother me.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
more, yeah, a relaxed,
Yeah.
focused state like that, yeah. Yeah, these are all normal responses, and they will change from time to time to time to time. The more you work with it, the more uniform the response will become, all right? And also the more, the less time you'll have to spend, because you'll be able to enter into the state that you need very rapidly and do whatever you need to do there and then come back out very quickly. All right? Also, one thing that you'll notice is, and this is one thing that Erickson stressed a lot, constantly, was that the person who is providing the instructions must enter a trance as well.
Did you?
Yes,
Really?
yeah, a very light trance, but yes.
And you were still able to read?
Sure. Still able to read and communicate and watch and gain feedback, but still a very light, eyes open trance. So we'll work with that as well, because you have to move in and out. In fact, he would challenge his students in the transcripts. You can see it. You can also see it on the video. Although they really make it difficult to get the videos of Erickson. They make it hard to get those videos. So But you can see it there, and you can read it in the transcripts. When he is working with people, I mean, one of the things he'll do is he'll ask them, how many times did I go in and out of trance here? And most of them, even though they're accomplished hypnotists, will not be able to tell him. And so he'll refine their observation skills until they can tell him exactly how many times. Okay, so one of the things you're doing, if you're working with someone or a couple of people, it's easier. If a group is kind of difficult to do that. But if you're, working with someone, you're going to be fairly close, and you'll be able to see all of the physiological responses and everything. And also, there's a rapport that builds, so you'll feel it. Your avatar will feel the same things that they do. So you get attuned to that. In fact, there's a paper from 36, I want to say, on ESP in psychoanalysis. Because the rapport becomes so acute, it appears as if there's ESP phenomena going on, mind reading. And so, this was a woman, psychoanalyst, who was writing the article. Very well written. And she just said, I'm just sort of throwing that out there, but this is what it appears like. As if it were real mind reading going on here as the rapport builds in the psychoanalytic setting. So, if it's not ESP, it might as well be, is what she was saying. Yeah.
You were actually reading there.
Yes. Yeah, I was just reading.
I mean, you don't memorize. You haven't memorized.
I have these all memorized. I haven't used this script for a long time. Yeah, and I don't typically use these scripts anymore. When I'm working with someone, it's easier just to sort of let things happen, and the instructions will either agree on them beforehand, or I'll just sort of follow my intuition. Okay, and the induction is really simple. Something as simple as this. I mean, the induction was done. What was the first instruction that I gave? With your eyes closed.
Yeah.
So the minute you closed your eyes, whenever that was, either immediately or a little bit later, that completed the induction phase. So that was already a trance state. Already the beginnings of the trance state. Okay? And it's as simple as that. Yeah.
I was hypnotized one time by a private hypnotist.
Yes.
For smoking.
Okay.
And I walked out of there very, very disappointed.
Okay.
Because I thought, well, that didn't work at all.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that's been 15 years ago.
Yep.
And I'm crazy.
Yes. Exactly that, because exactly. I know this gentleman who does it over the phone. And I mean, I've actually listened to it, just for my own edification. And he has got so much stuff embedded in that, like 30-minute talk over the phone. I mean, he is like crammed whole bunches of stuff in this 30-minute little script.
Why don't the politicians do that?
They do.
Well, they do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can analyze, like, for example, if we were to analyze, somebody probably is already, they're analyzing the debates. But yes, all of Obama's campaign speeches from, I don't want to say all, many of the most important campaign speeches from the 2008 election cycle have been analyzed according to neurolinguistic programming techniques. And they use them all. And so the speechwriters that put these things together will, they'll work on it for several days, if not weeks beforehand. And then the speaker, in this case President Obama, will practice it, 5 or 6 days beforehand. Now, this first debate was very instructive. By all of the normal accounts, by all of everybody's accounts, Governor Romney basically kicked Obama's butt. Okay? And to all intents and purposes, and from just looking at it, that's exactly what happened. But we have to take a step back and take a look at the strategies and everything else that's going on. Keep in mind that they've been preparing for this for 5 weeks. All right, keep in mind what FDR said, nothing happens by accident. Okay, this is very carefully scripted. Now, the first debate, they agreed to discuss domestic issues, which is the worst possible thing to discuss for President Obama. Okay? Because he really doesn't have a lot of facts that he can sort of bring up to bolster any position. So what they did was they built into the whole thing this very subtle kind of emotional state. Governor Romney was very aggressive. He was very corporate. He was very corporate CEO. All right? And he had a lot of energy and he was in your face. All right? And President Obama very seldom looked up. He was mostly just looking down at his notes or at the lectern. I don't know. I know he had notes. So he was always looking down. Okay? And he was sort of subdued and he never really had any energy and everything else. And so the effect was, at a subliminal level, at an unconscious level, the effect was that we have this white guy who is being really nasty to this black guy. So that's part of the effect. That's part of the effect. Okay? Now that particular effect will have a different response from, you know, people in Idaho than it will have from, like, my friends back in New York City, okay, who are African American and Hispanic. They will have had a very visceral response to that image. Okay? And so that was part of what was going on. The other thing that was going on was that he didn't have to defend anything. He was not even defending anything. So there wasn't really a defense. The attack was there, but there was no defense. So most of the attack will simply get lost. Okay?
Simply what?
Get lost. It'll just get lost. It'll just vanish.
Oh,
Okay? Because there was no response to it. There was nothing there to, you know, it'll just go off in the distance and be lost.
no counterattack.
Exactly. No counterattack, no counterpoints, no nothing. So it'll just sort of vanish. So those are the kinds of things that are going there. If we really wanted to take a look at it, we could take a look at the language they used, at the pauses that they used. Those would have all been carefully scripted. The emotional level would have been carefully scripted. Sometimes they'll actually block out their movements. If you remember earlier on in the debates, the Republican debates, since there were no Democratic debates, in the Republican debates, there were moments when like Romney or like Governor Perry actually left their space. Okay, so this created a very dramatic moment, and it also created a very high energy emotional moment because the person whose space they were invading, you know, had a couple of options. They could either back up, or they could stand their ground, or they could move forward. You know, their responses to that were going to be, you know, determine who was in the upper hand, who had the one-upmanship there as far as power, space goes. And so we saw that being carefully scripted in those debates. And of course, the ones who were moving out of their space were the front runners at the time, and the ones who were having their space invaded were the ones who dropped out almost immediately. So again, the subliminal message to the electorate is that these people are powerful, and the people who dropped out were not. And so all of this is happening at an unconscious level. The avatar is processing this and responding according to the developmental phases and according to the emotional responses that it has. And it's happening instantaneously. It's happening, you know, 15 milliseconds at a time. And we're busy looking at the sort of dramatic effect, you know, trying to listen to the words and looking at the stage and, you know, watching Jim Lehrer as he, you know, did his thing, gesticulated. Yeah, poor thing, poor guy. That also was scripted.
It ran right over him.
Yeah, and that was intended. That was the intended message.
A way you can compare is how Obama debated McLean.
Oh yeah. Well,
And this is compared to this one.
yeah, a better way to compare will be in the second and third debates,
Yeah.
because you will see opposites at that point.
That's what I missed
Yeah.
around. I kept waiting for the aggression to come.
Well, he
It
could-
never came.
Can't be aggressive on this because he is in a one-down position with respect to the domestic policies.
And then
So,
the motions,
yeah, yeah.
Romney, is it, you could, they were contradicting.
Mhm.
Is it, people were seeing this fresh guy like this, and then they were not hearing the message. Because I was trying to listen to, what are you saying?
Right.
And then he would start in on saying, and he kept repeating, jobs. And I said, yeah,
Yeah.
go on, go on.
Go on,
And
go
then
on.
one word, I want a sentence.
Right.
No
sentence, no plan.
No plan, just getting one word in.
Yeah, just getting one word in, which also is a very effective method because people will hear that and respond as if it were true,
Mhm.
okay, without any plan behind it.
Yeah, and I do feel for, that he was
Yeah.
trying to, because I've been in that position, trying to control powerful people and be very nice.
Well,
And
remember
at the same
that,
time, try to convey.
that was all part of the scripting.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was all part of the scripting. They rehearsed this for 5 weeks.
that part of it.
All of it, from beginning to end, rehearsed. Step by step by step by step, blocking out where they're gonna stand, blocking out everything. Nothing is left to chance, nothing.
That could
What
be-
you saw there was a very, very carefully orchestrated, carefully scripted, carefully prepared performance.
That's true, because the president lit up when it was all over, that
Mhm.
smile came up and he said, that's my Obama that I
Mhm.
wanted.
Exactly, and you'll see that as well as some very forceful stuff now in the second debate.
Oh, the vice
Okay.
presidents.
Well, that I don't know what we'll see. That will be interesting. Vice President Biden is, he's sort of, he does his own thing out there, but that will be scripted too. Everything he does is scripted. Everything he says is scripted. He does not make gaps. Those are all scripted. Those are all carefully prepared.
They're
Really?
not Freudian
Oh, yeah.
slips.
No, they're not Freudian. Well, some of them may be, but most of them are carefully scripted. Most of them are carefully controlled and regulated. In fact, the press corps knows what he's going to say because they've already got their talking points ready to go. All right? He comes out, has a gaffe, and 12 seconds later, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, all of the stations are talking about the gaffe, and they've already got experts on to talk about the effect of the gaffe. What will be the consequences of it? Carefully scripted. Nothing happens. They're spending billions of dollars on this. They do not waste a single dollar. Okay? Nothing is left to chance. It goes through the focus groups, it goes through the psycholinguists, it goes to the hypnotists, the NLP people, it goes to the speechwriters for rhetorical consistency, and then they get together and rehearse it and rehearse it and rehearse it until they can do it blindfolded in the dark. Okay? What appears to be spontaneous is no more spontaneous than, a Hitchcock movie.
That's true, it's very, very
Okay?
bad.
These people, this is high level, very high level professional, performance, rhetoric, debate, acting, it's all there. These people are highly trained. Okay? They are highly trained to be able to lie to you while smiling, to be able to say nothing in 20 minutes, to be able to convince you of a particular perspective even though it's not good for you. Okay? These people are very carefully trained.
How come Obama never makes eye contact? He's
Because,
always talking that way or that way, but never, almost never directly.
because, like when he's got the teleprompter, because that's where the teleprompters are.
Oh,
Yeah, the teleprompters they're almost invisible to the TV screen. But if you were standing at the lectern or the podium, the teleprompter screens would be right there, like at 30 degrees, 45 degrees right here. And so that's why he's always looking over here, because that's where the teleprompter is. And then he'll sort of scan, and then look over here, and then scan, and then look over here. Okay? So it looks natural from the audience perspective. It looks as if he's encompassing the entire audience. And he can do that because they're transparent. He can actually look through them and actually see people.
Yes,
Okay.
when an anchor, news anchors, they're looking directly at you.
Yeah.
There's where the teleprompter is directly at the
Yes, right there, right either on top or
That's like a
below the
little
camera.
section.
Yeah, and it's just scrolling across, and they've got a person off screen offset, you know, controlling the speed and everything as they talk, okay? So, for us guys, when Megyn Kelly, okay, who is extremely attractive, very intelligent, when she is there looking into the camera, the psychological effect is like one of total intimacy between us and Kelly. Okay? It's extremely seductive.
Who?
Megyn Kelly. All right. Anyway, so we're basically done with everything. Yeah, so this is, I mean, you're looking at, once you know what you're looking at, you can appreciate the high level of skill as well as the high level of intensity and training that these guys go through.
Well, if the anchors, they're talking on the news all the time now about how Obama bombed.
Sure,
But don't they know that it was all scripted and that?
sure, they know.
The thing is, it sounds like it's a script in itself. Because he would have done this is after you're saying that and you know that it's there, everything is being controlled.
Mhm.
It's making him like an underdog.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, making him the underdog.
Before it was that he was going to be an exceptional.
Mhm.
But the other running mates, they were either following Hillary or Obama,
Mhm.
because it was either going to be the first woman president or the first black president.
Exactly.
And when somebody decided, all of a sudden Hillary did not have 3 newsmen, but Obama had a truckload, because they knew that he was going to be president.
Right.
Now, it looks like people, at least from my perspective of it, Romney has all the, what can I say, it's the standards of a president. The thing is, now that they got into the script, is that he's not well liked either in his party, but he's the one who won the nomination.
He's the one that they select.
Yeah. So now they have to put him up.
Mhm.
They have to make him personable. And that was the first thing they said, that he had won. He had related to the public.
Mhm.
And I've been hearing all this rhetoric that it says that he's cold. He doesn't come across. And Obama does.
Oh, yeah.
He laughs, he jokes, I feel very related to him. And it's like, oh, he's like my boss.
Mhm.
I was like, Mr. So-and-so, I'm not okay.
Well-
And even then, when he was doing CEO, it says, laying like this, I want to be your boss.
Yep.
And it says, Obama came across and says, I want to take care of you.
Mhm.
So this is what do you want, a boss or someone who will take care, a father figure, in other
Mhm.
words.
A very friendly father figure. Yeah, there are 3, in like the last 15 years, there have been 3 examples of nearly perfect public speaking. And that would be Tony Blair from Britain, President Clinton,
Oh,
and President Obama. These guys are good.
I like Clinton though.
Yeah,
I just don't know,
absolutely.
He explains things I go,
That's exactly right. I mean, he is just down home. He is slick. I mean, he is, you know, and, you know, it's amazing. He can do it without a teleprompter. So can Obama, but President Clinton, yeah, I mean, once you appreciate what's really going on here, even though you may not agree with the politics, or, you know,
Reagan had to get too.
Reagan was a very carefully trained, classically trained actor.
He was in this.
Yes, yeah,
When he was
unfortunately, yeah.
doing some very nasty things.
Yes,
He came across, I'm doing it for you.
yes, absolutely.
I have a campaign button at home that says Gandalf for president. You can't do much better than that.
That's true.
But these guys are up there. So I'm an Obama supporter, but these guys are up there talking to people who have no idea what's going on in the world. Us, the American population.
Yes.
So we're looking there, and here's this one guy who's confident, who's on top of everything, who can give facts, most of which are totally wrong. But he can do all of this. And then there's this, I'm talking about the first debate here, and then there's this guy who's sitting there not doing anything. Right? This guy can lead me. Okay, I'm afraid it's scripted or not, Romney won.
Oh, he
in
did.
terms
He
of the-
did.
He was supposed to win.
Wait, yeah,
Yeah,
But he was.
he needed to win that debate.
But did you actually listen to what he said?
Oh,
He
what
was
that-
gonna
that's-
kick.
but
Yeah.
Joe,
he was
U.S.
gonna kill-
citizen doesn't care what he said,
That's true.
doesn't know what he said,
That's
and
true.
can't, there's no knowledge base to judge it against.
Yeah, because I had to laugh, because he said he was gonna kill Big Bird.
He's gonna what?
He was gonna kill Big Bird,
Yeah,
actually.
okay, well, there's now
He
another
mentioned
thing on where they're gonna
no.
get Big Bird on
Listen to the
advertising.
words. He
Right,
actually-
Big Bird.
Big Bird song.
And
Oscar the
PBS,
Grouch.
yeah, and he was, and listen to the words, he was doing away with PBS, you know, it's one of the things he wants to cut. And like this, and he actually made the joke like this, and if you listen careful, he does mention, it says, there's certain things I did listen. No, I am not gonna tax the rich. Right off, that's one of the few things he does that. Yes, I'm going to kill Big Bird. And he made a big joke out of it. But it says it was not a joke. If people actually listened to what he was saying, and it says, he's going to cut PBS, he's not going to tax the rich, he's not, and it's, et cetera, et cetera. But he did it in such a way, it just went right over it. It just looked like he was energetic.
And in control, and commanding, and leadership. What was the economic effect of the outcome of the debate? Who got more campaign contributions?
Well, Romney must have.
Obama.
said-
Really?
Obama got almost 3 times as much
Yeah.
money.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because his supporters are concerned about him.
Yeah, a lot of money poured in.
Absolutely.
But
118 million.
the
That's a
polls,
huge amount.
Yeah.
It's like,
but
whoa.
the polls now became dead heat. Before, Obama was leading
Mhm.
by 5 to 7. Now, if you listen to the news or whatever thing, especially after the debate, it's a dead heat. And it says, they don't know now, the tension is building.
Right.
The black hat or the white hat's gonna win, one of them's gonna win.
Exactly.
Now the tension's up.
I remember a comment, sort of a joking comment made, there was a time, I don't remember who it was, interviewing Nixon,
Oh, yeah, uh-huh.
and somebody said, you know, you can tell whether Nixon's telling the truth. If he answers the question, his eyes are turned right, he's telling the truth.
Mhm.
I mean, and if his eyes are turned left, he's lying. If he's looking straight ahead, he's lying, but he thinks he's telling the truth.
Right. Right. Mhm. Oh, yeah. Yes. Right, right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It is absolutely beautiful, yeah, and it is,
I love it.
yeah.
You got to be there and realize, a lot of people here in the state is against the Quran, but if you look into so much what we practice because of what it's amazing.
Oh, yeah, yeah, they all come, it's all the same, it all comes from the same source. Yeah, it's exactly the same source.
Like I said, my mother was born in Spain, but she had an Arabic descent, and so it's between them and Spain, all this can be Spanish. But then when you take Yolanda all 3 of them now, okay. Okay, I'll see you later then. You gotta run some errands. Well, there, and it's all made by the Arabics. That's really neat about that blue and yellow. Yes.
Yes.
You talked about separating the body from the spirit and the body from the soul. Is there a difference?
No, spirit, soul, mind, consciousness, they all refer to the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just sort of different labels for the same experience, the same reality, the same being.
Okay.
Our consciousness, our soul, our spirit,
Is the
Yeah, and there, it just depends on which time frame we're looking at, which term they're using. Like now we would use, ego or consciousness.
Right.
Yeah, whereas before they would use soul. The Greek term psyche literally meant soul. And that's how it would translate. So that's what they were talking about there. So psychology our word psychology refers back to the soul, study of the soul.
Okay.
You know, but we
So soul and spirit are
exactly intertwined. Now, some of the modern Hermetic systems, Theosophy, and some of the other systems, they want to further separate it. So you have the extended world, you have the body, you have the soul, and then you have spirit. Okay, and then some of them even want to differentiate a bit more, and you'll have a lower self, a middle self, an upper self, a soul, and okay. But again, all of this is just, you know, nitpicking. Okay, there's no, the actual experience that you have when you meditate is simply to separate consciousness from the physical body and therefore from the extended world.
Okay.
Because the extended world is given to us through the senses, as Berkeley proved. Okay, all of that out there is given to us through perception only. Okay, and so once we separate the thing which we are, that's thinking substance, once we begin to separate it from the physical body, all of that falls away. And we're left with nothing but the substance that we are, the thinking substance, the unitary substance, the one. Okay? And so that's what the practice of meditation does. Now, Descartes' method does exactly the same thing, except we're now looking at that and recognizing that we are looking through the eyes of the body. It has exactly the same effect, it's just that we're now looking there and recognizing that there are two things going on here. The thinking substance, which is experiencing things, and the sensations and perceptions of the extended world. So we still have the same two things, it's just that now he wants to put it, you know, rather than separate from all of this and just sort of abandon it, he says we need to make it rational. We need to make certain that we have a method that is not founded on ancient mystical traditions, that we can practice while we are awake in the extended world.
Hence meditation.
Well, no, that meditation would be different. Meditation is having all of this fall away and hanging out in the dimension of spirit, in the dimension of mind. Okay? The skeptical method and the phenomenological method is to stand firmly here and evaluate all of that and our relationship to all of that, and through that evaluation process come to the realization that there is me who's thinking, which is different than this and that. Okay? Same end result, but we're focusing on the other side of the equation now. Okay? Why? Because that other side leads to too much speculation. Okay? I mean, once you start delving into that other realm out there, you'll start to have people argue about, you know, how many worlds there are, what kind of spirits there are, how many parts of the body there are, blah, blah, blah. And none of that is really demonstrable. Whereas this is. We can subject this to strict scientific investigation. Okay, so that's why they wanted to move to this side. Also, moving to this side leads us to where we are now, because moving to this side of the equation gives us technology. The other side does not. There's no motive for technology on the other side, which is why India didn't develop the atomic bomb, but we did. Okay?
I don't know, are you Catholic?
A lot to think about. I was wondering if it was okay to come to your meditation class.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that'll be tomorrow at 10.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to come to the three of them.